on a 100-mark test taken by 25 students. So, you don't have to really make it, but you should visualize because it helps you understand what is going on. When I say a 100-mark test, the thing that comes to my mind is, okay, so the marks can vary from 0 to 100. Yeah. And I know that there are 25 students, so there are 25 values in this 0 to 100. Two students obtain full marks. So I know that there are two people over here. Yeah, so I'll just put them like this. It will be easier for me to visualize this then. Yeah, so there are two people who got full mark. Was the average of the 25 scores on the test greater than 70? So my 70 is over here. My question is the mean greater than 70? Yeah. I know that the values can vary from 0 to 100. So mean can be anything in between. It can be less than 70 also. It can be more than 70 also. Of course, now I have to look at the constraints that are given to me. So I'll look at statement 1. The minimum test score obtained by any student was 63. So then I know that, okay, the scale is not drawn. I mean, the number line is not drawn according to scale. So don't worry about that. My 63 has come like very close to 0. Doesn't matter. Let's say I have a 63 over here. This is my lowest score. Yeah. Now, is my mean greater than 70? Is it necessary that my mean should be greater than 70? Or is it possible that the mean can be less than 70 also? Okay, first of all, intuitively, do you understand that getting the mean greater than 70 is a fairly easy thing, right? There are just so many cases in which you can think of that mean would be, you would normally assume that mean would be somewhere over here, right? There are anyway two people who have 100, then this is the lowest score, and my mean would be maybe somewhere around 80, 85. It's pretty common, right? That would be the distribution in case it's kind of distributed along the entire 63 to 100 range, right? So greater than 70 is okay. But is it possible that my mean is 70 or less than 70? Because my question is greater than 70. So then we're going to focus on the point of equal to 70 rather than less than 70, because it's very easy. It is the point where it's a critical point, right? It is where the relationship changes. So I'm going to focus on this. Is 70 possible? It's okay. Recall our concept of deficit is equal to excess, and it is going to come in very handy going forward also. How do I get the mean? Mean is that point where my deficit of all the points before, which are smaller than mean, is equal to the excess of the points which are greater than mean, right? So my deficit is equal to excess. Currently, for the two kids, all I know is that their excess is 60, because they are, in case I'm assuming the mean to be 70, then their excess is 30 each. So I know that there is an excess of at least 60, right? What about the deficit? Look, I have 23 students left. From 25, only 2 are placed over here. I could place all 23 people over here and ensure that my mean is really small, isn't it? Right? I could place, let's say, if I place all of them at 63 itself, everyone has a deficit of 7. So there are 23 people that have a deficit of 7, and this gives me a huge deficit, right? Excess for now only has to be at least 60, isn't it? So certainly my mean over here, etc. is possible. I know my mean of 70 or lower is possible. So this alone is not sufficient. Greater than 70 is also possible, less than 70 is also, and 70 is also possible. Okay, fine. Now I look at my statement 2 alone, and I cannot take this value, which means that, let me just draw a new diagram. Of course, in the exam, you don't really need to draw a new diagram, but then you'll have to cut out the 63 so that you don't take it by mistake, right? So let's say I have my 0 to 100 here, and I have 25, and all I know is that there are two people who have 100, right? And total, I have 23 other people on over here. Now, the median of the 25 test scores was 73. So I have 73 over here. This is my middle value, which tells me that there are, because there are 25 people, there are 12 people over here in this range, and there are 12 people over here in this range. Of course, I know 2 are over here, obviously. This is the middle, the 25th guy in the middle, and 12 are here and 12 are here. Now, is it necessary that my average would be greater than 70, or can my average be 70 as well, or it can be less than 70 as well? quite a few of you have marked the answer over here as B, where you say that statement 2 is sufficient. Now think about it. Why do you think that statement 2 is sufficient? Look, it is very much possible that these 12 people who are lower than 73, they are somewhere over here, right? Maybe all of them are, let's say, at 70 itself. And then these 12 people are anywhere between 73 to 100. So my average is more than 70. Definitely, that's the easier intuitive thing, right? What about less than 70? Why do you think? I mean, I'm assuming that when you say that, statement 2 is sufficient, you are feeling that it should be more than 70. Why do you think that it can't be 70 or less than 70? I know that these people, for example, if all these 12 people, I place them over here at 0 itself, do you see how much of a deficit I can create? If I say that my average, let's say, can it be 70? I'm placing my 12 people over here and I've created a deficit of 12 into 70. Yeah, over here, I know that I have one value here at 73. So there is an excess of 3 for sure. And I also know there is an excess of 60 coming from these people. But let me put all of these people, right? 1 is over here, 2 are over here. I'm left, no, 12, right? So 10 more people. If I put them all at 73, what do I get? I get another excess of 30. So this is the only excess that I must have. Do you see that? The excess over here is 93, which I must have, but my deficit can be anything in this range. So that is why my average can easily be less than 70 or 70 as well. Do you see that? And that is the reason why my statement 2 alone is also not sufficient. My average can be less than 70 and it can be greater than 70 as well. All right, now let's take a look at both the statements together. So now I know that, okay, we'll just, keep with this and I have my minimum value, which is a 63. I've been given that this is 63. You know what happens over here? Now my deficit is defined, right? This stays the same. Let me just, keep with this. But now my deficit is defined. I can only have a deficit of 7 for those 12 people, right? And when I say 12 into 7, this is the deficit. This is a deficit of 84. So this is the maximum deficit that is possible. Already my excess will be at least this given both these constraints. Do you understand? Which means that 70 cannot be my average. My average has to be greater than 70, right? And that is why using both of them, I can say that was the average of the 25 scores greater than 70? Yes, it must be. It has to be. And that is why my answer over here is C. Yeah, don't look, you will need to figure out a case where, to ensure that this is not, because mean and median can be slightly tricky. It is possible that in mean and median, sometimes less information can also be a lot, can also be sufficient, right? So I do want to figure out those two cases, one where it works and one where it doesn't work. But then deal with the smaller numbers. If it is mean that you're talking about, deal with only the deficits and the excesses, right? We'll not assume values, find the mean of that, add those and everything. No, just look at the difference from the mean of the numbers which are smaller than the mean and the numbers which are greater than them. Do you understand?